Hello everybody, welcome to a stream of consciousness vlog of sorts. I am holding my Rode microphone because I don't have one of those booms, and also nothing much has happened in my life to actually make a Saturday vlog about, and so I thought I would just talk about whatever's happening in the world. I kind of already hit on some things yesterday during the Minecraft stream, but in case you missed that, the idea was from the people on the Reddit forum, or one of the subreddits, because not like Reddit is not one big forum, it's like a whole bunch of sub forums. In case you never go there, I tend to go there every once in a while. Don't really spend whole days there, so I'm not a super big Redditor, but I do know what the place is about. And so we have at least one sub forum that deals with Wall Street and stocks. They noticed that the stocks of GameStop were being shorted by a bunch of people that were betting against GameStop. They were borrowing stocks from somebody who held them and then selling them off immediately to somebody else for that current price, and then they hoped that the stock price would go down so that when they bought it back they would only have to spend part of the money that they would have spent buying it from the person that originally owned the stock, and then they would make a profit without actually having done anything. That's the whole idea from shorting a stock, and they did that in particular with the goal to make sure that GameStop and other companies that they're doing this to would eventually go down, and that would mean that any stocks that they had borrowed from the original people would not have to be repaid, and everything would be pure profit. So that's what they were doing to GameStop, and the people on the Reddit subforum were like, hey, why don't we just buy whole stocks and hold on to them? The original owner of the stock will eventually want their stock back. So the person who was shorting the stock, so to speak, had to buy it back at whatever price it was. But if people keep buying the stock, then the price market or the price of the stock keeps going up and up and up. And that means the people who are trying to short stocks have to buy the stocks back at higher and higher prices. In other words, they were losing money on the whole trade, and that's kind of the issue now, why people are so upset and why it's on the news, and why the people who are buying the stocks, who came from the Reddit forum and people associated around them, are now being portrayed as deregulating the market, or not really deregulating, like making it unstable, or they're doing bad things, and oh, these terrible people from the internet are making things terrible for people trying to invest in Wall Street, and it's all a big problem. Of course, the problem actually is the way that people were shorting the stocks originally, which they are doing all over the place. Like I said, this is not an unusual situation that just happened with the GameStop stock. This is all over the place. So basically, they just highlighted an issue within the market that's been going on for ages. And now that people who normally make their money basically just selling and buying stocks are now being disadvantaged because they're being called out for it, basically. So the people that normally made a lot of money trying to make other companies go down and having people fired because of that are now having to pay a whole bunch of money back on the stocks, and now they're complaining about that. And now all sorts of things have happened, like the people who, or at least the companies that normally allow you to buy stocks, now putting all sorts of regulations in place that you can't buy stocks, you can only sell them for GameStop right now, and I think a few other stocks as well, because they've moved on from GameStop. They're moving on to all sorts of other companies that have similar issues, like I think BlackBerry is one of them. And so these people are basically trying to expose, I guess, the issues within the market, and they're being portrayed as bad people because of it, even though the trades that were being made that caused this whole situation were actually legal, but very amoral, I would say, because you're trying to bet on a company to go down and all of the employees that work for it to get fired because you want money. So that's not a good thing, but that's apparently okay, because the people that run Wall Street are now on the side of the people who are currently losing their money because they were making all these short trades. And I think in Wall Street it's kind of common to try and be a shark in the water and try to get as much money for as little effort as possible. They think that's normal. I think there's a lot of immorality in Wall Street. The earlier market crash in 2007, that was also based on a huge bubble that was sort of like this, but more like with mortgages. Like they kept packing mortgages into these big chunks, and that was being traded. But the mortgages, those big chunks, were full of mortgages that were underwater. People couldn't afford the houses. There was a big housing bubble back then. Similar, not quite the same, but also another thing that's happening in trading stocks and securities and stuff like that. That's not great. But, when people start messing with the system by doing something that's actually quite legal and normal, buying a stock, which you would think would be the thing that people do in the stock market, that tends to rock the boat, and then people get upset, and then they start trying to pull back on that somehow. So if you see people being called all sorts of things in the news because they're buying stocks, and that somehow upsets the boat, don't take that, or at least take that with a bit of I'd say a good gallon size container of salt, because it's basically just people losing money, causing a big fuss over the fact that now their little game is up, because now they suddenly have to pay money rather than getting money off of the backs of other people. Because GameStop, I believe, currently has like 17,000 employees, and that's just one company that they're betting against. So basically these people have their business is to bet against people getting fired, or basically bet on people getting fired and then making their money that way. And then we get more joblessness, but they don't care about that because they just want the quick buck. That's basically the whole thing, and they're upset now. In other news, I also mentioned that quickly yesterday, that there were all sorts of riots all over Europe. They're making it seem like a huge deal, and not to downplay the fact that, of course, places have been wrecked, these stores have been looted, there's been damage, property damage, and stuff like that, and the places where that has taken place are definitely a mess, and there's certainly a certain group within the population that is very upset that is currently more likely to riot and stuff like that. But it's not like every town has a few streets that are on fire right now or something. They're trying to make it seem like there's a huge uprising going on and everybody's rebelling, but it's really not that big of a deal. So the thing that's affecting me most, I think I mentioned that yesterday as well, is that we're now getting a lot of things being sent to us, and that's of course all in these boxes with wrapping paper, wrapping plastic, all sorts of other stuff that comes with that. So I have a lot of stuff that I now need to put in my paper container, which is kind of overflowing. That's the main thing. In other news, I heard that the Brazilian version of the coronavirus is now also in the Netherlands, so very much fun there. We're going to see what that does. And since people do travel the world for work and stuff like that, it'll probably be in a place near you sometime soon as well. So I don't know, we'll see what that does, and if the vaccines that are currently out there are still going to be useful to take, because there are now different versions with different ways of attaching to your cells or whatever it is. They have like spike proteins or stuff like that. And I think the South African version in particular, microphone's getting heavy, is pretty good at attaching to your proteins. It has like different ways to attach to your spike proteins, or it has different spike proteins to attach to your proteins. A whole different medical story. I'm not a medical person in any way, shape, or form, so I'm probably not saying it correctly. So there's different ways for them to attack you, basically. So I'll have to see if the vaccinations are at all useful for that. Like I said, this vaccine, it's like there's new versions out there. Is it really going to be useful for this whole new slew of versions that are currently out there? And it's not like we're going to be limited to these 4 versions that are currently out there. There might be new ones as well, because it's like a thing that continues to develop. So there might be a Dutch version soon, or there might be a French one, or there might be a German one, or there might be one from Russia or whatever. Other than that, just doing some gaming, listening to some videos, watching some documentaries. I got tons of books, as you can see, to read, so I'm definitely not bored in any way, shape, or form. And I will see you again on Tuesday for my usual Stardew Valley gaming session. And of course on Friday we'll be back with Minecraft Skyblock. Hope you're happy and healthy as well. Make sure to stay healthy and safe. Don't do anything crazy. And I'll see you during a stream or next Saturday, whichever comes first. Either way, thanks for watching, and bye bye for now.